What does being an American mean to you?
To serve my country well.
Like to help out my community,
But how?
like promoting healthcare facilities, like hospitals, for example.
To do charity and help the less fortunate.
Freedom of my own opinion, so voting.
To have the opportunity to receive an education despite my cultural background.
To be able to pay taxes and pay my debt to society.
To be an American citizen means to treat the other people in your neighborhood like you would want to be treated.
That you have to respect other people's cultures because everybody's different in their own little ways.
To stay green and be eco-friendly.
What does being a Muslim mean to you?
To serve Allah.
To fast during the holy month of Ramadan.
Taking care of the sick and elderly.
To make a pilgrimage to Mecca.
To follow the laws of the land you live in.
To be able to learn about my deen and dunya at the same time.
To tolerate others' cultures.
To not impose my beliefs on others and to accept them for who they are.
Paying zakat.
To pray 5 times a day.
What can you do as an active Muslim that goes against your civic duty as an American citizen?
Nothing?
What do you have to say about finding the balance between the loyalty to Islam and America?
I would say that I don't think that's an unusual issue. I think Muslims, Christian, Jews, Buddhists, Hindus, all of the religions around the world struggle today with that very same issue, as well as they struggled with that issue throughout history since very early times. As the world becomes more global, it is a challenge we all face.
I think that really what it comes down to is probably a lack of understanding, the confusion that those two things are completely separate. A lack of understanding of two things. In many cases, probably those who would argue that there is a stark separation or distinction between faith, the Islamic faith, and citizenship, just don't understand the faith of Islam very well. I think that upon studying that, upon conversing, either conversing with someone who practices Islam, who might maybe even do their own research into the faith, would see that there's nothing really, I think they would find to be alien to the traditional American values, and so that is one part of understanding.
As a classroom teacher, I have seen a lot of changes with Muslim students over the years. I've been teaching for about 15 years. Muslim students in schools have begun to organize themselves and with the goal in mind that they want to develop a deeper understanding of what it means to be Muslim, what Islam really is. And I think that is a step forward. In schools, we believe in tolerance, but I think we really need to move towards the ultimate goal of respect. But however, I think these students and their voices are moving the other students towards acceptance of Islam. I think the other students who are non-Muslim are no longer just tolerant, but they are interested in Islam and accept it.
I think something else that might be lacking of understanding with that might be the understanding of American citizenship and what that means. I think from the beginning, it's the idea of being an American hasn't meant being of any religious background or religious perspective, and so I think that maybe one should take a closer look at what it really means to be an American before they try and pass judgments on what that means. For a long time, people have treasured the notion of the melting pot idea of America, and I think to say that the pot has congealed some time ago would be very myopic and closed-minded. And so with all of the world's major religions now really predating the creation of the modern nation state, which of course is where the notion of citizenship comes from in the contemporary world. With all of the world's major religions now really predating the creation of the modern nation state, which of course is where the notion of citizenship comes from in the contemporary world. I think that's probably one of the main sources of confusion is ideas that come from before that, and then ideas that are around as a result of that creation of the nation state. And that's part of the confusion also, that in a way that they're sort of the same thing, that it encompasses the same part of one's identity, of one's lifestyle. But I think upon a deeper look into things, closer investigation, that one would see that it's really, there are just multiple facets of one's identity. That one's identity doesn't come necessarily completely from one source or another. And that in some ways, there are, values of Islam, values of American citizenship that, completely coincide, that there would be, that could almost be confused.
Since the beginning of Islam, Muslims have lived outside of their country of origin for a very long time. They lived in Southeast Asia. They played a big role in the history of China, in the history of Russia, of course the Eastern Europe. They lived in Western Europe, the Americas. They are travelers and they have been everywhere. So it is not a new problem.